go back in the inn.
Not that fun.
LARPing is live-action role-playing. That's what it's called.
LARPing is live-action roleplay.
LARPing is live-action roleplay, obviously.
It's a live-action role-playing game.
You explore your imagination, where what you've always wanted to become.
Oh, nobody's helping me.
And you just wanted to become someone else, where you let your emotion, you let your energy out, and you become something that you've always wanted to be.
Is everybody looking at me now? And how good I am looking?
What would that character do in this situation? So
you can't make me.
Basically, it's an excuse for a bunch of people to take on different characters and become somebody else. They go through a different situation that's planned out, or not planned.
What do we do now? I think we remember him.
We totally remember Magnus.
Yeah.
You're for Jordan, aren't you? From the island of Tard?
Wait, who are you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know this guy?
Yeah, this is Magnus.
Watermelon.
Oh!
Yeah. The watermelon.
God, okay.
You can go.
No. They can go.
What?
They would watermelon man.
What? No. You don't know the password. You can't go through.
Let him go.
You don't know the password. You can't go through.
Help me out here.
Okay, you can
Let
go
him go.
through. No. You can't go through.
What's the password?
Oh, the password.
Yes.
Wait, no. The password is now cantaloupe, not watermelon.
I was actually going to say cantaloupe.
Okay, you may go.
Cantaloupe.
You may go.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Come on. I don't know.
Yeah. Alright. Anybody else?
somebody made fuzzy spell packets.
That's
They're
adorable.
like throwing squirrels at people.
And act in a universe that may not normally exist in the real world.
God damn it! I wasn't even trying to think of that. My statement. You can't steal my joke. I can.
I've always been a nerd. Earlier in life, I did a lot of, I actually did fencing for a couple of years. I apprenticed a blacksmith for 4 years. And when I heard that they had this program at BHS, I just figured, why not sign up? And then kind of one thing led to another, started sticking around, and now I'm president. So.
Same way as everything else, because my brother did it. So it's always been something like that, and I've always had a fantasy for just doing that from video games, just becoming something else and wanting to be the hero or be the villain. You get to do whatever work what you got, and I enjoyed writing, so I wrote different plots for it. So that's what I think that's where I get it.
I want to be a kayaker.
I'll be a kayaker. I want to be Dixon.
You want to be a kayaker?
Do we have?
No. You want to be a kayaker?
I'll be whatever. Something that's with a boat. Something. Or a kayak.
I didn't get into it till I started working here at Bow. The club had already been built and in progress and pretty strong. And the teacher who had built it, Bob Jazokis, left to go to another school, and so I kind of inherited and adopted the club from him.
I've been in LARPing for years. My brother actually got me into it in a different LARP.
Girls? Yeah? Oh, I got a penny for me, maybe?
You
We'll let you pass. Give us some money.
How much money?
How much? We can take their money from them.
It's easier if they just give us their money.
Lads. Let's all be peaceful. We got about 10. Get along.
Come here, step dog.
Whatever needs we have. There was maybe like 5 years ago, we totally revamped the rule book. So the rules totally changed one year. For the better, I think. We had it was like a 40-page rule book, which we chopped down nearly in half. It's since then kind of started growing back up, so now we're closer to 30 pages again. But so that was a major change. The worlds sometimes change, sometimes we start over fresh with a new world, so there's a change there. But the basic premises, the basic rules have always stayed the same. You know, safety is our #1 concern.
Good bargain when we see one. I do.
So rules like the hold, winter gear, footwear, those things are always, the offers themselves, those kinds of things are always of primary importance for us.
Hold!
But from there, you know, the rules kind of tweak here and there, sometimes a major overhaul, sometimes the world is completely different. But the overall basic structure of it has remained pretty much the same.
2 hits to limbs and 3 hits to chest. Does that seem okay?
That's the spiders.
Should I tone it down?
I actually played this character, Zavher del Pozo. It's basically just my name, but he was just kind of a moral character. I got to kind of play around with the whole knight in shining armor kind of thing. And I don't know, it was a good time. Definitely pushed my limits in acting, so.
I've really enjoyed all the characters I play. I always try to find some kind of funny little quirk about my characters to make it fun and exciting. You know, a lot of people like to play like dark and ominous and kind of the macabre sort of character. I've never tended towards that.
Good that you know good for sales.
I like playing the villain, for where I was like played the last werewolf, and then I got my head blown off. That's how the stories go. Villains always lose, or they win.
I've always tended towards characters that are kind of a little bit off the wall, a little bit goofy. You know, so one year I played a trash gnome. And that was a lot of fun. You know, I'd just smear myself with some dirt-looking makeup, and I would, you know, and I'd always spend my time collecting trash as we wandered around the school campus, because that's what my character would do. He had a shovel, so he could whack people with his shovel, and he could dig with it, so I could dig tunnels around. He was a lot of fun. Mega Day is a day where, at the end of the school year, where we play from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to about 10 o'clock at night.
Today is the sort of climax of our Hidden Justice school year. So usually lasts about 8 hours long. We spend all 8 hours doing different runs and plots, and we usually wrap up our entire role playing of the year.
Lucy saved him, and they were basically chased by the guards, and Tony is a captain named Magnus, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah, Mega Day. That's the day when you live your person's life in the span of 3 weeks in one day.
That we're in our characters. It's the end of the year as well, so it's usually our big climax to our year-long plot arc. So whatever big bad guys there are, we confront them.
By extension, we also have a lot of opportunities for overall socialization, a bunch of food, a bunch of drinks, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a really good time.
And you end the story with either a giant explosion, or everyone dying except for one person who wins, or they basically martyr and kill the enemy.
We have time in a tavern where we bring in food and drinks, and we have, you know, tavern games, and there's usually brawls and all sorts of crazy things that go on in taverns. I've enjoyed playing as dwarves because there's something about dwarves. They've got like a certain spirit that I love. Last year we had another school join us for the first time for our Mega Day. Bedford High School now has their own LARPing club, so they've been coming to join us. And so they joined us, and we had this huge turnout of kids with them. We had to have more than 30 kids there. It was absolutely amazing and almost a little overwhelming to have this many people. We'd never had that level of participation in the club before. It was a really amazing, fun, and exciting experience.
That is actually disgusting.
I've never been good at wizards, at mages. I'm just not good at keeping track of, you know, like how many spells did I use today. But I've played some quirky wizards. One of my other favorites was a gnome. Nope, sorry, not a gnome. One of my favorites was a hobgoblin. He was he was kind of a chef, and he played with alchemy a lot, and I made a fry pan that I could use to whack people in the back with and knock them unconscious. It was kind of, you know, like a Samwise Gamgee kind of thing. This little guy who could smash people upside the head with his fry pan. And he was a lot of fun. I always had a little bit of food with me, and so I was always like kind of cooking stuff up for characters and making things. And that was a lot of fun. Oh yeah, I mean, it's totally a positive thing for the kids. I mean, it helps the kids, you know, with their imaginations and their creativity, which is an increasingly important thing in schools and workplaces.
I think it personally gives people an opportunity to kind of expand their horizons. It acts specifically at BHS as a kind of a social experiment. Gets people to get out of their boundaries and make new friends.
It improved my writing, for one thing, for my creativity and mastering plots, and it also improved my, well, social. I grew into new circles, new people, and you meet a new society of people, and you get to truly meet what they want to be or who they are.
There was a company who was looking at, you know, World of Warcraft players as being good employees because they're problem solving, their communication skills. And that's what LARPing does as well. Kids have to learn how to communicate. They have to think differently. They have to problem solve. They have a situation. How are they going to go about figuring it out and what to do? You know, there's just so many skills that it helps build in students. Plus, there's a whole social aspect where kids develop bonds with each other. They develop friendships in ways that they may never have been able to do otherwise.
It's worth, I tell you what, I will lend you 2 golds if you buy it for 1 gold.
Return to bottle. You're a horrible salesman.
There you go. Okay.
Can I have the key now?
What a bottle of wine for that man.
That's not the key.
Oh no.
Come on, this is the price.
Thank you. Here you go. You now feel hair growing all over your body. You become a Sasquatch man.
I look like an animal. This is awesome.
I can think of a handful of kids who would have been very different people, I think, if it hadn't been for Hood and Jess's. Because Hood and Jess's became a place for them, a community for them, a place where they can have friends and be themselves. And they would probably be not as strong a people if they didn't have that.
It went through waves. Like, I remember there were like at least 15, 20 people doing it. Then we dropped down to like 4 or 5, and now it's back up again. It's usually just the incoming freshmen that usually help benefit it. Because the more people are there, the better the story. The smaller people, though, is also beneficial. That means you can really get into depth about their characters and show like just how they would react in this scenario.
I think it's really helped the school. It's an opportunity to let people do things that they want to do, and I think that that's good for kids. It's good to make sure that there's something for everyone in a school. You know, we have a lot of sports, but that's maybe half the school population. So what are some of the other kids going to do that aren't as into sports? You know, they need something. Everybody needs something. And I think that this is a great thing to kind of help some kids enjoy high school and to find friends. Another thing I really like about it is that it's a difficult thing, I think, for a lot of kids to participate because it's admittedly very geeky, right? And, you know, I've heard before in the past, you know, the phrase that it's social suicide. Right, that if you want to be a cool kid, you can't do Hood and Jess's, right? But I applaud the kids who do participate because it shows a lot of courage to be who they want to be, to do what they want to do, despite what is considered cool or not cool. You know, I'm very thankful that this is day and age where it's okay to be a geek. And I think that it helps the school and other students to realize that there's a lot more going on in the world than just sports, than just the band, than just whatever else they do. You know, that there's other people out there who like to do things, that like to do different things, and that it's okay to let these people do what they want to do. You know, I don't see a lot of bullying going on around the school generally, but I very rarely have heard kids picking on other kids for doing hood and jesses, because it is such an open thing. We're open. You want to come and join? Come and join. Come and try out. And a lot of kids in the school are really kind of genuinely fascinated by it. The other day in class, they're like, so what do you do there? How does it work? Because they're curious, and I think by having this club here, it allows people to know that there's other stuff out there.
3, 2, 1, and